Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Kaemmerer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Kaemmerer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to have so much fun because we're talking about my favorite subject, which is LinkedIn. I am a firm believer that every professional, everyone who is in business needs a LinkedIn profile. Doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to be paying for it, all of those various things. But if you're in business, you need a LinkedIn profile. And so we're going to be talking with an expert today, and especially an expert on LinkedIn for executives. And we're all executives, right? If we own a business, we're an executive. So please join me today in welcoming Kaemmerer to our program today. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you so much. Great to be here, Deb.
Perfect. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you, and then we will dive into this. So Kaemmerer is an internationally recognized personal branding expert, professional speaker, and author of the award-winning book, look, I have it here, LinkedIn for the Savvy Executive, which is now in its second edition. Prior to her focus on LinkedIn and personal branding, she was a marketing communications consultant for 20 years with a Fortune 500 medical device company. Since 2011, Carol has focused her communications expertise on helping C-suite executives and senior leaders use LinkedIn powerfully, creating positioning and messaging that reflects their business passion with authenticity. Pairing her flair for communicating with her deep knowledge of the ever-changing LinkedIn platform, and holy schmoly, isn't that true? She optimizes her clients' ability to be found on this essential social medium to increase their visibility and influence, attract high-performing talent, and steer their career. As a professional member of the National Speakers Association, a certified virtual presenter, and advisor to the C-Suite Network, Carol is a popular speaker and corporate trainer. So again, Carol, welcome.
Thank you so much.
You know, it is so true that everyone needs to be on LinkedIn. And, I'm going to show your book again, so I get to be Vanna. I love this book. It's a quick read. But one of the things you talk about is, and as we mentioned, is for the savvy executive, is that many executives don't even realize why they need to be on it. And so that's, that is where you built your niche. But let's go back just a little bit. We'll dive back into LinkedIn in just a second. How is it that you got to where you are today and discovered that this really is your passion in life?
Well, it is kind of a funny leap. And it was absolutely by accident. So I had worked as a marketing communications consultant to a Fortune 500 company for 20 years. Wow. I loved it. It was delightful. And so because they were in the medical device industry, I was known as a high-tech medical writer. In 2010 and 11, there was a huge downturn in that industry. And the company began to outsource whole functional areas, including marketing communications. And I was dead in the water because they were my only client.
Oh, no.
I worked with them all the time.
Right.
They kept me so busy. So my network was all locked up in that company. I just couldn't get to them.
Right.
And so I began to study LinkedIn as a subject because I knew that I needed to build myself a new network in order to ever work again. And I needed to proclaim myself powerfully. I discovered, it didn't take me more than 3 minutes to realize this, that I couldn't use my collateral that I had developed for 20 years.
Those were proprietary.
It was. And so, no website for me, not that that would have been a good answer anyway, but at any rate, I thought, okay, so I'm just going to attend every webinar, every seminar, read everything. And as I began to do that, I'm going, oh, I understand. I understood algorithms before from medical devices.
Yeah, those old
like,
SEO things you knew.
Right. It's like, oh my gosh, I get this. I get when you do this, this happens. When you don't do this, nothing happens. And I began to be so excited about the insights that I was getting that I began to reach out to all of the people that had hired me over the 20 years who had also lost their jobs. And I would say, sit with me and let's just tweak you up here. This is important. And they were so blown away that very soon after that, they began to send me their friends. People I didn't know. I'm going, oh, I'm being identified as a subject matter expert.
I bet you I could make money at this.
Yeah. And of course, I was looking for a job. So for a while, I had this bifurcated thing where I was high-tech medical and also LinkedIn personal branding. And that didn't really, as a marketer, that doesn't sit
right. You're having a mixed message, and we all tell people you can't have mixed messages.
Right. So I created a bridge, and the bridge was I tell business stories. And I happen to tell two flavors of business stories. But, the concept was I tell business stories. It's not children's stories. It is, business. The story of, a product, the story of a person. And now I say that I shine my branding brilliance on people instead of products.
Right.
And I have such a good time doing that.
I know. Well, I can tell you don't like this at all. Yeah.
It is so much fun to make a difference in someone's life, to make a difference between finding a career-ending end at the age of 52 versus going on and having the ability to work as long as we want to.
Right.
So really, my why is that in 2008, when there was that big transition, that big depression, I had lots of friends who, at a very young 50 age, lost their positions, high-level positions. And, when you'd see them 9 months later, you say, well, how are you doing it? What are you doing now? And they would say, I guess I'm retired.
Yeah, a little of this, a little of that.
And you're going, you guess you're retired. The deal was they couldn't deal with the transition between the time when they first had to apply for a job and last had to apply for a job. And now the whole paradigm of how we find jobs had changed. They were still into what color vellum shall I use for my
and
resume?
where'd my cheese go?
Right. And absolutely, what font do I use? And the world had passed them by and was looking for them on LinkedIn, and they had no idea.
Right.
And so those people are my favorite people to help, because I feel very strongly that we should be able to give to the world of work as long as we have something to give. And we should know what those tools are that allow us to do that. And I make it possible.
Right. And I think the thing with LinkedIn is exactly what you were saying. So many people assume a couple of things. First is that it's for your basic entry-level job searches, which,
Oh,
sure, but that's just a minute part. And then, of course, the other thing is, well, I don't need it. I have a great job. I own my own company, all of those various things.
Right.
And if anything, the last year showed us was stuff changes.
it does.
And
It does.
and that's where it's so important to have your LinkedIn profile
Right.
current. I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and it was so funny. She and I hadn't spoken in 10, 15 years.
Mhm.
And she reached out to me, and we had an absolutely wonderful conversation. But she has gone back to school because she got downsized.
Right.
And so she said, and the reason she reached out to me, she had a class project to create a LinkedIn profile. And so she,
Yes.
so right, you hear those. And so she and we were just having a good time catching up.
Right.
We were working on it. And I said, now, and she said, but I'm not really going to do anything for 18 months. And I said, ooh. And she said, well, I'm not graduating for 18-ish months. I mean, that's always kind of a moving target.
Right.
But and I said, I'd cut that in half. I said, my recommendation is you do it now. I said, but at least cut it in half so that you have a good, robust network presence before you actually need it, so that you're not playing catch up.
Oh, one of the things that is the saddest is for people to have no LinkedIn presence or a very poor LinkedIn presence while they have a job.
Right.
Because when they don't have a job, if that happens, it is so hard to write about yourself.
Oh, yeah. And the desperation.
It's a very bad time to write about yourself when you don't have a job, because you whether it is your fault or not,
right,
we all assume there's something wrong with us because
our self-esteem took a hit.
Right. And it's hard to write about yourself under any circumstance.
Right.
But when you feel bad, that's the worst. And so it's my mission to help people understand this is an essential business tool. No matter whether you're in a job or not in a job, you need it, and you need it to work, because LinkedIn is a search engine, and if you feed it the right things, it has the power to send you the right for you opportunities.
Right.
And if you don't feed it the right things, nothing happens, of course.
Right. And it doesn't have to be a new job. It can be new business partners, new connections. I mean, all of those various things. And I think that, that goes back to what I was initially saying, is that so many people assume it is just for people who were getting jobs, which, when it started, way back yonder, when we first joined it, right, we put our resume there, cut and paste, and that was pretty much all we did, and so many people, their profile still looks exactly like that. And the bad part is they might not have updated it in 10, 15 years, right? I love it when I go to somebody's profile and I think, I don't think they've had that job for quite a long time, right? But it's still saying present, but yeah, it's, and the thing is, and this is, you and I were talking about this before we started, but one of the things that I love about your book is it reminds us about some of the basics that we need to be reminded about, like why we should be using LinkedIn. But let's just kind of go through some of them, because they really are things that people overlook. The first thing that we're talking about was your picture.
Yes.
I still get, now it's not as much, but maybe 1 or 2 requests to connect a week where either there's no picture, so it's a little gray person, or it's a company logo. And I'm like, no. And I don't even go to the profile. I do not even look, because I figure if they don't know how to use LinkedIn at least well enough to know they have to have a picture there, then I'm not going to bother. But talk to us about the importance of that picture.
Okay, well, here's the deal. You will always look to the people that you don't really see every day,
Mhm.
you will always look exactly to them
Mhm.
like you look in your LinkedIn picture.
Mhm.
It's the only image that they have of you,
Mhm.
and that is your brand to
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
And so that's great
Mhm.
news if we have a great photo.
Right.
But oh my gosh, those of us who didn't bother
Mhm.
having a great photo and
Mhm.
just have a picture,
Mhm.
ooh,
Mhm.
can be bad. I know that there are some people who hear that it should be a professional picture and they
Mhm.
go, oh, great. When
Mhm.
I was at so-and-so's wedding,
Right.
I looked
Mhm.
really good, and
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
photographer took my picture.
Mhm.
Now, the fact that your wife's hand
I know.
is
I
cut
love
out
the
of the
floating
picture,
hands. Cousin It makes an appearance,
that
right?
disembodied. Yeah, it's like, oh no. Or even half of your buddy's face,
Mhm. Mhm. Or even just their shirt or
sliced off.
something. You're like,
It's like,
hmm.
whoo. So it really is one of the most important things that you can do
Mhm.
is have a great picture made,
Mhm.
because, as I said, that is your image.
Right.
And we're
Mhm.
such visual people.
Mhm.
People love pictures.
Mhm.
And that is the image that they will carry
Mhm.
forever about how you look.
Right.
So, if you're in a scruffy t-shirt that,
Mhm.
where the band is frayed,
Mhm.
and you've just been chopping wood,
Mhm.
unless your job is chopping wood,
Right. Right.
it's not a
Mhm.
good look.
Mhm.
Um, Other things that I have noticed are people who are having a great time, but they got their sunglasses on.
Right.
So
Mhm.
I know, as a marketing communications
Mhm.
person, that the emotional parts of a
Mhm.
face are the eyes
Right.
and the
Mhm.
smile.
Mhm.
And if the eyes are not looking
Mhm.
at the camera,
Mhm.
and therefore looking at who's
Mhm.
looking at them,
Right.
that is a big turnoff.
Mhm. Right. It might
Looking,
be an arty photo to be staring off into the distance,
yes.
but that's an arty photo for
Right.
something else.
Yes. The other thing that doesn't play well, unless you are a visual artist
Mhm.
or a performing artist, is a black and white photo.
Mhm.
Even if it is very artful, if
Mhm.
it doesn't connect with your brand
Mhm.
very specifically,
Right.
when you're looking at 10 people in a row on a
Mhm.
LinkedIn search page,
Mhm.
that black and white image doesn't
Mhm.
play well against color.
Mhm.
Now, the other thing that I have found, and really painfully, for some senior level leaders
Mhm.
who have been on LinkedIn forever,
Mhm.
when they try to connect with me, I see no picture.
Right.
Now I'm going, I know this guy's had a picture.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
customized his banner. It
Mhm.
looks great.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's gone that extra
Mhm.
step to customize the banner. So I know he's got a picture.
Mhm.
But when I am either trying to connect with him
Mhm.
myself, or he's trying to connect with me, we've
Mhm.
got that potato head image,
Mhm. Mhm.
the gray potato head.
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. It doesn't even look like a person anymore.
No. And so, I go ahead and I look at their profile and I
Mhm.
go, yeah, this is a real person.
Mhm. Mhm.
Usually I don't connect with people who
Mhm.
don't have pictures,
Mhm.
but they've got,
Sometimes if you know who they are, that's
right,
different.
you know who
Mhm.
they are, or they are a C
Mhm.
level position,
Mhm.
and you look and it's pretty obvious that they're a real
Mhm.
person and they're C
Mhm.
level.
Mhm.
Then I do connect, and the next message that I send to them is, do you know? Oh, I always take a screenshot
Mhm.
before I connect that shows that their picture's not there.
Mhm.
And I say, do you know that for people who are not connected to you, this is what they
Mhm.
see?
Right.
They are aghast.
Right.
How could
Mhm.
that be? I've been
Mhm.
on LinkedIn for 15
Mhm.
years, or
Mhm.
whatever. I've been a
Mhm.
power user. I use it every day. How
Mhm.
can my picture not show up? I go, well, you have a setting that's incorrect.
Right.
And it's under your public
Mhm.
profile
Mhm.
on the right-hand side.
Mhm.
You look down and your picture is not enabled to show
Mhm.
to everyone.
Right.
And
Which is a weird thing to even have on there. I don't understand
Well-
why that's an option.
I think that it is a throwback to the time when we were so skittish about putting our pictures anywhere.
That's
It was
true.
part of our
It was
identity.
definitely a privacy thing,
It
but
was. I remember being so concerned
Mhm.
about my teenagers years ago,
right.
about how they were using instant message and all kinds of things that had pictures, and they had pictures of cats for themselves instead. They just
Right.
because I was really concerned about people
Right.
preying on them, about
And we still should be with kids. I mean,
yes,
that's
with
just
kids. That's still true.
Mhm.
But we were skittish for ourselves too, way
Right.
back then. But
Mhm.
really, a picture is the most important part of our brand.
Right.
How we look
Mhm.
is how we convey our personal eminence.
Right.
And if we show up, like a cat or like a potato head,
Right.
it's just, it doesn't work.
Right. Right.
And so the people that I find that don't have a picture, it's that they made that setting when they first joined. I'm just sure of it.
Right.
They
And
are
never thought
no
about it again.
knowledge of how that happened, but it's my guess that they
Right.
did that way back when we were concerned.
Right.
And now that's we need to protect our information, but our picture really is
Right. And Google yourself, folks. Your picture's out there in a million places.
absolutely.
So-
I was so surprised at how many pictures of me are on Google.
I know. Mhm.
I was on the Joseph Jaffe show,
Mhm.
and he has a funny little segment at the beginning where he puts your head on a picture to make a funny statement about things you didn't know about Carol. And I think he did it about 6 times, and there were 6 different pictures. I had
Wow. And you're like, where'd you get these?
They were well, I could see that they were all past pictures that I had on my LinkedIn profile and other places. But it was funny how he was just snapping them up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I'm looking at LinkedIn right now, of course, and I have your profile up. Fabulous picture, of course. But over on the side, it says people you may know, and there's 5. There's 5. Somewhere there's 5. There's 5 people that it's suggesting I know. So 5 pictures. The first one is a CEO. And it is a delightful picture of this woman. She's looking at the camera. She is smiling. You think, oh my gosh, I want to get to know her. Second picture is a VP at an organization, a woman, and you can tell she's got this big cowboy hat on. Now, the organization doesn't look like, just from what it's telling me here, doesn't look like it'd be a cowboy type of thing. And then the next one is a gentleman. Good picture. Next one is a speaker. Doesn't have a picture at all. So we have Miss Potato Head, I guess it would be. And then the final one is a black and white. And so, it's obviously what we're talking about is something that is fairly common. I mean, this is just random how these 5 pictures came up. And there's only 2 out of the 5, which are good pictures. So the important thing is, if you've got a good picture, you're going to stand out.
Yes. I think a good picture is the best investment. The search engine goes on words, and we need to have our keywords everywhere. But once you've shown up, if you're doing a keyword search for someone and you look at the top 10 people, the person that you're going to reach out to first is the one with the best smile. It really is true. It's just like if we were looking in the dark ages,
Mhm.
at the Yellow Pages ad. We
Mhm.
picked the ad that is the most visually appealing because
Right.
we're visual people.
Mhm. Right.
So
Or you walk into a networking event that you
yeah,
haven't been to. You're drawn to the person who is outgoing, who is
right.
vivacious, who might be standing there laughing and having a great time. You are not drawn to the wallflower.
Right.
And now the funny thing is I actually, when I go to in-person networking events, whatever those things are, sometimes I will go to the wallflower
Me too.
because, I mean, that's what we have been taught to do. But yeah, I mean, we're looking for that center of attention.
Right.
And so, it's, have that good picture. We were also talking about, before the program started, that as we mature, it is still important to have a current picture.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
want to see a picture. Oh my gosh, I still see glamour shots every once in a while, right? Where they're looking over their
Oh,
shoulder with the
yes.
boa and the funky hat. Um, but and again, people are like, well, that's a nice picture of me. I don't care. It's 30 years old. And my key that I tell people is somebody should be able to look at your LinkedIn picture, never having met you, and be able to walk up to you in a crowded room. And so,
Yes.
it's and it does get tricky for women who change their hair color, who change their haircut. I mean, all those, maybe that's why the person has a cowboy hat on. But
It's a COVID hat.
that's it. I know. Oh, right. Yeah. That was one of the things that was like, okay, do I change my picture during the pandemic? No. But yeah, it just needs to be current because one of the things it is showing me is you're current with business trends. You're current with knowing what's good on LinkedIn. I mean, all of those various things. And so it's just that, to me, that really is the absolute most important thing in somebody's profile is their picture.
Absolutely. So in my second edition book,
Mhm.
I have a section on people who are 50 or over.
Mhm.
And my very first recommendation
Mhm.
is have a current picture.
Mhm.
Sure, you looked better 15
Mhm.
years ago, but if you put a picture
Mhm.
of you 15 years ago
Mhm.
and then someone meets you in
Mhm.
person, everything else on your
Mhm.
profile
Right.
becomes of
Mhm.
question.
Mhm.
So really, we need to be authentic. We
Mhm.
need to be transparent. And so my notion is put on your best smile,
Mhm.
put on the clothes that are
Mhm.
that you would present in
Mhm.
or do your highest level business in,
Mhm. Mhm.
and show up.
Right.
Be you.
Mhm.
Now that's not you without any preparation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not talking
Mhm.
about out of bed you.
Right.
I'm
Mhm.
talking
Mhm.
about you in your business
Polished. Mhm. Mhm.
that should
Right.
be the picture that
Right.
you
Mhm.
present.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah,
depending on why you're using it, that is, it may very well be worth hiring the professional photographer.
oh, absolutely.
I got all new headshots done because I changed my hair color.
Yeah.
I got all new headshots done in December by this
Mhm.
wonderful woman here in Atlanta. Now,
Oh,
it was
good.
not inexpensive, but
Oh,
it was
yeah.
worth every penny. Because part of it included the makeup artist.
Yes.
Now I have to admit, because now I was never a huge makeup person anyway, but because of COVID, I think my mascara has dried up. I mean, and so, I'm just not into putting on makeup anymore. So, but the professional photographer included
Yes.
the makeup item, and men, you need a little of that too. Because we want to take the shine off your nose. Maybe you've got a blemish or two. We're not talking, that we're, going to get made up like, like some odd character in a TV movie, but a little makeup is good. She also knew how to have me sit, how to have me stand, so that I was showing off my best feature, my personality. I mean, one of my favorite pictures of the thing, and I am careful where I use it, but it was one of the outtakes. It was December. It happened to be one of the rare 35-degree days here in Atlanta, and we were outside. I am cold. She's got me leaned up against a brick wall, and I think I'm saying something that's probably not nice to her, but I'm laughing. And I use that picture in some places because to me, it's showing my personality. Now,
Yes.
do I have this headshot? Yes, I have the headshot. But of course, she did a fantastic job with those too. But if you're needing new headshots, maybe the thing to do is get together with like 5 of your friends and talk to a photographer and say, hey, what rate would you give us if all 5 of us did this at once? Because they probably haven't been doing a lot of pictures either, and do whatever you need to for COVID. I mean, all that good stuff. But, it's just make sure your pictures are current.
Absolutely. And, it depends on your level, but if you're a C-suite professional, it's got to be a professional shot.
Right.
I mean, really,
Yeah.
it's all about packaging. And not that there's not substance, but we have to go that extra level to show that excellence.
Right.
So,
and it shows that we're going to take our business seriously. It shows that we are going to provide high quality work.
absolutely.
I mean, when we don't care about ourselves, then the impression is that we're not going to care about someone else. And we were chatting before the program about our Zoom image now, where we're only dressing from the waist up, all of these various things. But that is and that's been one of the things I've started noticing more, that we've been on Zoom for over a year now, and we're doing more and more of them, is we've gotten more casual. Now, in some degrees, that's okay. But we still are professionals, and if we wouldn't go to an in-person meeting in that scruggy t-shirt, then we shouldn't have it on a Zoom conference either.
Right.
And so, but yeah, and then the other very important image that a lot of people overlook on LinkedIn is that banner, that big, very cool picture. And I love those because they're so easy to create. I mean, people are like, hello, there's a program called Canva, that's free, that, you can do this with, or, a multitude of other things. And, that's a perfect place to be showing off your brand.
Absolutely. So, what she's talking about, that banner, is the big expanse in the back of the photo of you. And currently it's kind of like gray-green.
Right. They changed the weird graphic part, but yeah, when you've looked at one that's
it's a big amount of real estate on your profile, and we want to make sure that you're using it to good effect. And so picking something that really resonates with your personal brand is important. I always suggest, number one, if there is a special place that touches your soul and you have your own picture, use that.
Right.
Also, one of my things when I work with individuals is to ask them what they want to be known for. And that could give us some ideas about the banner. There are 2 photo websites that I just love looking at for absolutely gorgeous images that are free to use. And I'm just going to pass them on because they are just stellar.
Cool.
One of them is called Unsplash.
Yes, I've heard of that.
UNSPLASH, unsplash.com. And the other one is Stock Snap, STOCKSNAP.io. And stocksnap.io is also affiliated with Shutterstock. So the first 10 or so pictures that
it's going to want you to buy them, but
right. Those are, you have to purchase. If they have a little star in the corner, and it's like the first 10 images they show you in response to your search. So if you absolutely don't want to pay for something, don't ignore the ones that have stars in the corner. But these are like gorgeous images, and it can be so powerful. You can find the most beautiful sunrise over the ocean. You can find whatever it is that evokes your brand. I have a client who is in the business continuity business. he protects companies
Mhm.
and helps them to rebound from things like
Mhm.
hurricanes that,
Mhm.
wipe out a
Right.
place or something.
Mhm.
Um, at any rate, he is the calmest person I have ever met.
Mhm.
And so, and he's also a sailor.
Mm.
And so one of the things that we picked for his background image was an absolutely still lake,
Ah.
at
Mhm.
dawn.
Mhm.
And the waters are so
Mhm.
calm
Mhm.
and the sun is just coming up and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, this is who
Mhm.
he is.
Right.
And
He's that calming influence.
right, it
Mhm.
was so on brand.
Mhm.
And you don't want to pick something that's just doesn't have any
Right.
relevance.
Mhm.
And you're correct that we can use Canva,
Mhm.
which is a free program
Mhm.
for design that
Mhm.
we can use that to add words,
Mhm.
um, to add our logo
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
make sure it shows up in the right place, all of those things. But if you're just looking for an image,
Mhm.
those two sites are
Perfect.
just gorgeous sites and
Mhm.
free to use.
Right. And I love that it doesn't have to be business related.
Right,
It just has to reflect who you are.
right.
And I say it's like a billboard. I mean, you've got
Yeah,
all of that great real estate there. Why
absolutely.
not use it? And
Yes,
so, and
you are right.
I've seen some cool ones, like a friend of mine is a writer. And so she has one of the old fashioned typewriters. And just stop and think, okay, what could I have fun with? And that's I think one of the things that people forget or think you can't do on LinkedIn. You can have fun. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we're going to talk about headline in a minute, but in my professional headline, I say college sports fan. That has nothing to do with business, but it helps you connect with people, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, you can have fun with this. So maybe
No.
your picture is something that's a ton of fun. As with any internet images that you're using, make sure you have the rights to them. And
Oh,
so that's where
absolutely.
it's best to have taken your own picture or use the sites or other
Right.
sites like you mentioned, because you don't want to get in trouble by using a picture you
Oh,
shouldn't
no,
have.
no.
But yeah, there's so many resources. I'm back in the day of remember when we used to have to pay like $500 for one picture, and then you'd see somebody else with it, right? Because you didn't buy the exclusive rights. Well, whatever. Long gone are those days. But yeah,
Yes,
use that space because it's big. Why not be using it? And don't make it too
absolutely.
busy. That's been one of the other mistakes that I have seen people do is they try and put everything into
Oh,
that
yeah.
that little space. But yeah, it's perfect to do that. And maybe even if it's just that you met a celebrity and you have a picture with them. I don't care. Like I said, make it a
Yeah,
fun thing. But again, it is part of your personal brand. So what is it
absolutely.
telling people?
Hmm.
So let's talk about that headline. I love that
Oh,
LinkedIn finally made them a
yes.
little bit longer, right? They're still not real long, but that's okay. A headline is not supposed to be, war and peace. And so, why is it so important? Because I hate that the default is your current job title.
Hmm.
Because most people, first of all, they don't know that they can change it.
Right,
And second, they don't care. Well, I'm proud that I'm president of ABC company.
right.
Who cares? But why is that headline so important? Before we do that, let me read yours because of course it's a great one. So it says executive branding coach, speaker, author, C-suite executives share your eminence 24/7 without opening your mouth. I like that part. To increase visibility and influence, attract high-performing talent, and steer your career. Right there. I mean, that tells it doesn't tell everything, but it tells enough that I go, ooh, I want to read more.
Yes, that's the hope.
Mhm, mhm,
So you are so right that the default is just your job title
mhm,
and your company.
mhm,
And it's just fine one of the things that you could do is leave that as the beginning part.
Mhm.
But
Right.
use a
You're
colon.
still proud that you're president of ABC company.
Right, right. Use a colon. Tell
Mhm.
us,
Mhm.
as president of ABC company, what values do you
Mhm.
bring? How do you serve your customers?
Mhm.
What is their experience?
Mhm.
Tell us more.
Right.
We have 220 characters now
Mhm.
to customize our message.
Mhm.
It used to be 120, and I was masterful at
Mhm.
getting it,
Oh
to
yeah. I
fit
mean, we
right
used
in.
ampersands because that
Oh
was
my
one as
goodness,
opposed to
yes,
AND,
yes,
right? Mhm.
right. But now we have 220, which is more than enough as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
because more encourages people to do the wrong thing with your headline.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if we say that we want to be known for more than three things,
Mhm.
we look unfocused.
Mhm.
Three things are always memorable,
Mhm. Mhm.
but more than three things make us look unfocused.
Right.
And when we're unfocused, it makes it hard for people to refer
Mhm.
us,
Mhm.
and it makes us unhireable, actually.
Right.
People are going, oh, she wants to do, these six
Mhm.
things, and nobody can be
Mhm.
all that good at
Mhm.
six things. So no,
Right.
not that person.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Right. It's like, no, that's
Mhm.
not my person.
Mhm.
And so it's important for us to use our characters well, but to not put in so many things because we've got extra
Mhm.
characters to
I know
use.
that was it, right? Oh, I can put in more.
Right, right. So more in that case is not
Mhm.
more.
Right.
More is less.
Mhm.
And I always hang someone's brand on three pillars. We have three pillars,
Mhm.
three things that we want to be known for,
Mhm.
because three things are always memorable,
Mhm.
and more than three things always looks unfocused.
Mhm. Right. Right. And you mentioned something that I think ties into this. During the pandemic, and even before then, I mean, many of us did multiple things.
Oh, yes.
And and the pandemic made it worse, and because people lost their jobs, people were working from home, people needed added income, people wanted
Yes.
added income. I mean,
Yes.
how many people are like, "Ooh, I've got more time, therefore I can,"
Yep.
and so they're trying to think, how do I put all of this in here? Well, that's where you have that bridge, where
Right.
you talk about, the stories. I was working with someone one time, and on the weekdays, he
Mhm.
sold insurance. And on the weekends, he was a landscaper. And I finally said, okay, LinkedIn is where you're going to do insurance. Facebook is where you're going to be landscaper. I said,
That's a
otherwise
good
people are going to
plan.
get confused. And of course,
Yeah.
he said, well, can't I have two profiles? I said, no, that'd be against their rules. And it's confusing because if I were to search for his name,
Right.
I'd get both. And I think, well, what one is he doing?
Yeah.
But I like having that bridge because there are ways to say, okay, well, I do this and this and this and this. But overall, I tell stories. I connect people. I help people. Whatever it is, you can figure out what that is,
Right.
and that's probably your passion. What gets you going about
Right.
all of those things, and so
Yes.
that's how to tie them all together.
Yes, absolutely. So what Deb is talking about is before our conversation, our pre-conversation,
I know.
I talked about that I was previously known for my expertise in writing about high-tech medical devices.
Mhm.
And then I began to work with people on their profiles. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, these things fight. And so in order to create a brand that made sense, I had to say, well, how do these things relate?
Mhm.
What are the similarities? I'm using some of the same skills. How can I communicate that? No, I'm not schizophrenic. I just have different ways to express the same thing.
Right.
And so my bridge that I created for these two different endeavors was I tell business stories.
Right.
And that was my bridge or
Right.
my umbrella.
Well, and that works well also if we've had multiple experiences. There's
Absolutely.
probably something that
Yes.
tied them all together.
Yes.
And so, that's where you can do that. And then as people read the profile, they're keeping that in mind. Oh, this is a person who rocks at customer service.
Yes.
Maybe they've had 5 different jobs, but at each one they were
Right.
doing great customer service.
Right.
And so that is the key to be thinking through that is what is that thread that's going to tie everything all together?
That is what I look for when I am working with someone and we're trying to develop their brand story. It's like, where do they have the most impact? Where does their joy live? Where do we find that they are always in flow? And across all of those things, sometimes in my headline, I create for them a functional job title that isn't a job title that they have currently, but customer focused executive is something that I've used as
Right.
well, that's not any job title I ever saw.
Right. But what does it mean?
It gives people the silo to put them in, and then how do they add value? What is it that they bring? And that's how we fill out that the remaining character count and make it count, because what we're trying to do is get people to understand our brand in this marketing tagline, and then also use our keywords.
Right.
The keywords are so important to being able to be found on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is a search engine.
Right. It's a huge search engine. People forget that.
Yeah. It's like, how did they miss that? But yes, that same issue of it's a search engine is what stupefies people that, well, I used that keyword. Why didn't it find me? Well, being found is really being found on page 1 or page 2.
Right.
Because if you're doing a LinkedIn search for a person, for sure you're not going to go past 2 pages before you begin to contact those people to see if they're interested in your opportunity.
Right.
So the fact that, yes, the search engine found you and you're on page, 509,000.
Right. Yeah, because you use such generic terms.
Right. So writing a little on LinkedIn does not benefit us. I always talk about the importance of writing to the margins on LinkedIn, knowing what the keyword count or what the character count is for each section, because I always write to 3 shy of the character count. As a writer, I can hit it. And the concept is, when we're writing about our business passions, when we're writing about the things that excite us in the world of work, we're naturally using our keywords often. And that appeals to the search bots on LinkedIn. And it also appeals to the emotions of the reader.
Right.
When we show that we are excited about what we do, how we add value, it draws people like magnets.
Right.
So,
and the other, the other search thing is, for now, and I'm probably, pretty safe in saying it will continue, Google and LinkedIn play nice together. And so, when you're searching in Google, it is looking in LinkedIn. And so if you've got that great profile, so the great headline, the great about section, things like that have those keywords, that's when you show up in the Google searches also.
Yes, the LinkedIn profile is one of the top 3 things that shows up when somebody Googles your name.
Yeah.
And, so it's just got to be great.
Right. Right. And all of this, I think, is, I said it before, I'll say it again. I always say it. Obviously, it's very critical, but I think even more so because of the pandemic. we're not going to networking, in-person networking,
Right.
or we aren't to the degree that we were. We're not attending conferences. Will we get back to that? Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
I always joke, I like not having to put shoes on. And so, to be able to do all my networking online is a huge bonus.
Yes.
And in fact, I posted on Facebook, of course, last week that I had done 19 Zooms, and several people immediately we had done a lot more, and so then I felt bad. But I said, and one person said, we've got to get away from this, and this is horrible. And I said, okay, I met with people in 9 different states, 2 different countries, all these various things, and I said, and I would have never done that
Right.
in-person networking. Even maybe attending a conference, you might have connected with people, but it'd have to be a big conference. So we're the point is, we're researching people so much more online. And so that's why it's absolutely positively critical that your LinkedIn profile is saying, hey, look at me, work with me, hire me, be my business partner. I'm going to provide good content. Hey, I'm just going to be a good business connection for you.
Yes, absolutely. I really agree. The other thing about Zoom is that it's not like, when you're in the big Zoom room and there's 75 and multiple screens, that's overwhelming, but you're not really trying to network then anyway. But when they break you down into Zoom rooms and, there are maybe 8, I am instantly more comfortable.
Right. Right.
I am not necessarily extroverted in a big setting. I get
even online. Yeah. It's kind of weird when, we got this whole big Brady Bunch thing going with a whole bunch of people. But, but what I'm also doing is, when we're in those smaller groups, I've got 2 monitors. So this helps to be able to do. So I've got Zoom on one, I've got LinkedIn on the other, and I'm looking up people as we're on Zoom. And sending them requests to connect, and I do the all important, send them a message, say why. And so I'll say, Carol, am attending this fabulous C-suite network event with you right now. Loved your comments. We have to connect on LinkedIn. Now I might cut and paste that with 5 people. But as long as I remember to change the name, right? But yeah, I mean, it is so much a way of life now.
Absolutely.
That we're just really connecting online. And and I'm not looking at somebody's Facebook profile. I'm not looking at Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse, any of those things. In fact, I don't, I'm not even there. I'm looking up somebody professionally on LinkedIn.
Right. So yes, you are so right that we have the ability to build networks that are international now. I was getting international people because of my writing. Every month, I publish an article about your personal brand on LinkedIn. And so I have always had an international following. But now I'm getting to meet people, because of Zoom.
I know, and it's so cool. It's like, oh my gosh.
It is. And now I have international clients. So it's been really an interesting time. But one of the things that you mentioned just a minute ago, you talked about that you sent them a nice invitation and you talked about the note. And I wanted to share how you can make sure that you're not sending a robo message.
Right. Because that's the thing. I'm like, oh, there went my request to connect, and I didn't get to say anything.
I know. Well, my very first, years and years ago, I wanted to be a really good LinkedIn person. And I thought, okay, I am only going to connect with people who send me a message, a personalized invitation.
I kind of do that.
Yeah. Okay. But I realized that the very people I wanted to connect with didn't know how to do that. They would, I wanted to connect with C-suite professionals and senior level leaders, and they weren't familiar enough with LinkedIn to realize that if you are looking at a LinkedIn presented list of people. You know, they've got all these people.
Right. Like I was
already.
saying, I've got the list here of people you may know and
Right.
then connect buttons right next to them.
If you hit the connect button from any list,
it
automatically sends that robo message. And
Oh,
you have
no.
the opportunity to make that great first impression. So if you're on the list, instead, what you want to do is click on their face.
Okay.
And if you click on their face, it will take you right to their profile.
Which I should want to read more about them anyway.
Right. So here are my recommendations for how to make sure that you're not sending that robo message. Be on your computer. It's very hard. At various times, in various ways, they have made it possible for you to send a message from your phone, but it changes. And so
and it's not easy.
No, it isn't. So the easiest way to make sure, absolutely, is be on your computer, be on their profile, and then from the profile, hit the connect button, and then it will give you a pop-up that says, would you like to add a note? And the answer is yes, please.
Right.
So those are the ways. And that's also, debunks the, how did that magical thing of the robo message went? And it's because you're hitting a connect button from someplace other than their profile.
Right.
So
I love it. I love it. Well, oh my gosh, Carol, we could clearly talk about this for hours because I mean, we didn't talk about any of the sections, and they're obviously very important. It's always interesting when people don't provide details or they provide one sentence. I'm like, okay, and people say, well, people are busy. Well, no. If you want to interest me, you need to give me more detail. Now, I'm not saying, again, write War and Peace, but the nice thing is LinkedIn doesn't let you write War and Peace.
Sure.
But, we didn't talk about how far back you should go, back to those of us who are a little more mature. Or what if, your prior work really doesn't pertain to what you're doing now? I mean, all those various things. So this just means we have to have you on again, especially because, LinkedIn changes. We were talking before we started the program about some of the new features. I love the new features that LinkedIn is adding that some of us get, some of us don't, some of us whine about it because we don't get it. And so, we definitely have to have you on again. But, one of the things that you mentioned is it is so hard to write about ourselves. So that's where it's just wonderful to be able to work with someone like you. So tell us, what services do you provide and how do people contact you?
Okay. So I work with senior leaders and C-suite professionals to customize their profile.
Okay.
It's a fairly intense process. It's a done for them process, but not without them. I need to involve them. I need a fair amount of their input because I'm trying to channel their brand when I write. And so that is my primary offering for individuals. Then I am a member of the National Speakers Association. And as you mentioned, I am certified for virtual presentations by eSpeakers. And I love to work with corporations and also conferences, meetings. As a professional speaker, it is a joy to be able to present things that would be of value to your audience.
Right. And you mentioned working with corporations. It's so critical that your senior leadership team is presenting the same type of personal branding, especially as it pertains to your business. I mean, you don't want them all saying something different or none or all these various things. And so being able to work with you, as a group is very beneficial. And maybe, it could be also obviously nonprofits, things like that, but, presenting that unified marketing message while also getting their personal branding in there. Holy schmoly, that's a home run.
So I always say to companies that going, why would I, want my employees to look good? They'll just leave.
Aren't I going to get them to where they get hired away?
Yeah. Well, the truth is, you've got to have something else that connects them.
Right. Yeah.
But your employees are your number one asset. And why not show it off? When your employees look good, it makes the company look fabulous. That company has the ability to attract and retain that level of talent. And so you want that talent to shine. So I love working with companies. Just real special.
Cool.
So one of the things that I do is write every month, and I have a newsletter. So if you would like to connect with me, I will be happy to send you my monthly newsletter.
Wonderful.
I don't, crowd your
just
inbox.
Monthly? Wow.
Yeah. It's like, hey, and great information. This is my book, second edition.
Look,
the Savvy Executive.
And I don't have the second edition, which is funny because I just ordered this from Amazon a month or so ago.
Well, both of them are available.
Yep. So I just clicked the wrong one. So
yeah. This one shows the book award that I got, one of the top LinkedIn books of all time for Book Authority. So that's fun. And find this one on Amazon. It's got all of the current features that everyone has now. And it's got all of the terminology up to date, which is important.
Right. And it does, the title is LinkedIn for the Savvy Executive. We can all be executives. This is not just for the people who own the company. This is for anybody, because the tips and techniques that you discuss really are for everyone.
They are. It's you are the CEO of yourself.
Right.
And the other thing that I have noticed is that even people in college and graduate school, I've talked to classes, and they're going, oh my gosh, this is so accessible. This book is so much fun because it's got space to breathe, and it's well formatted. It's got different colors, text, just black and red. It's written for an executive reader who wants just the top level.
Right. Like you said, it's a quick read, but great content.
But the concept is, because it is a quick read and easy to grasp, anybody can grasp it.
Right.
So I am recommending it as the book to buy for your graduate.
Ooh, I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Well, oh my gosh, people can find you at your website or obviously on LinkedIn, and your last name is spelled Kaemmerer. And so, it's great. So like your website is Carol Kaemmerer, but I'm, you can Google and kind of not even spell it quite right, and you're still going to come up. That's the nice thing about Google, right? So I do encourage people to connect with you, to get on that monthly e-newsletter, all those various things, and just learn, it's because, as you said, it is ever changing, and we're ever changing, we don't stay the same. So, our LinkedIn shouldn't either. But, we've been having a great conversation. I've been loving doing this. Do you have any final thoughts for everyone?
Oh, understand that LinkedIn is your best marketing tool for yourself. If you don't honor your own brand, who will?
Wise words, wise words. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely delightful time talking with Carol Kaemmerer. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Thanks so much, Deb. What a pleasure.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.